70 miles, constant rain, motorway traffic, and then a truck suddenly swerved into my lane. Yeah, there was a signal, but they signalled at the time they moved. No time to think, just reaction. Let me tell you how I got out of that one alive, and what every rider needs to know before they take on a 4-lane motorway. So what's up everyone, welcome back. No live vlogging from the motorway today because honestly riding a motorcycle on a busy motorway takes full focus, so I'm glad at the time that I wasn't vlogging at that moment of time with the camera running. Now of course, especially also in the rain. So I just got back from a service run in another city because I was servicing the Honda, so it's all serviced now, which is great. About 35 miles each way. And it turned out to be a real test of motorway riding skills. So instead of doing rolling commentary on the motorway, I'm just going to break it down here in one piece as I'm just going through nice, quiet and quaint villages and kind of avoiding the speed bumps. So today's ride taught me some lessons, some new and then some reinforced. And if you're thinking about taking your bike onto a multi-lane motorway, especially in rough conditions, this one is for you. Now of course it's perfectly doable, but you just got to remember that you just got to be completely focused with what you're doing. So anyway, alright, here's what happened. I was about 20 miles into my journey and was riding in lane 3 on the way back out of a 4-lane motorway. Conditions were far from ideal, light but constant rain, wind gusts and lots of lorries and cars bunched up in all 4 lanes. I was overtaking a slower moving truck in lane 2. I had a solid pace. My visor was slightly cracked in fog, eyes up, scanning, and then boom! The truck I was passing drifted straight into my lane. They did indicate, but they indicated as they moved, which is really pretty well pointless. So just a slow but deliberate move. I was squarely in its blind spot. So in that moment, I didn't brake hard. I rolled off the throttle gently, shifted slightly to the right within my lane and prepared to hit the horn. Now thankfully the lane beside me was clear and I had the option to swerve if needed, but it was close, too close for comfort. That moment stuck with me for the rest of the ride, and now I've got a little bit more composure, I can just tell you about it. So let's go for lessons and riding tips for motorways. Now firstly I'd say stay out of the blind spot. Trucks have enormous blind spots, especially on the left and rear side, so if you can't see the driver's face in their side mirror, assume they have no idea you're there. Pass decisively, don't linger alongside, don't ever linger alongside. Secondly, active scanning. It's easy to zone out on long motorway stretches, and I was guilty of that. I had zoned out a bit and I was probably just focusing on the car in front. But that's when mistakes happen. Keep your head moving, constant mirror checks, watch for erratic behaviour, especially from trucks in wind or wet conditions. Now, thirdly, position for safety. Within your lane you've got options, left, centre, right. I usually position slightly right of centre to give myself space from adjacent vehicles, but always adapt. Sometimes hiking the left side of a lane gives you more breathing room for aggressive overtakers. Fourthly, I would say watch for lane drift. On rainy days, like what today was, especially lane markers, they can fade. And drivers, especially truckers, drift without realising. Keep a mental note of who's staying sharp and who isn't. And lastly, for number 5, I would say wet riding techniques. Keep your inputs smooth, throttle, brakes, lean, everything should be fluid in the rain. ABS and traction control can help, but they're not magic, and of course many bikes don't actually have them. Leave bigger gaps, and always assume the car behind you can't stop as fast as you can. Okay? Alright, let's talk about lane strategy. On a 4-lane motorway, you'll often see riders default to lane 3 or 4 to stay ahead of slower traffic. But hanging out in the fast lane too long can backfire. Cars behind me start tailgating and you're boxed in with fewer options. So I usually move with purpose, overtake, then shift back into a middle lane to reset. It reduces pressure and keeps your options open. Don't feel like you have to be here in the 4th lane all the time. It's not about speed, it's about survival. Let me just shoot past this car in front here. Nice little opening and off I go. Alright, so motorway riding tests your endurance, mentally and physically. It's not twisty background fun, it's tactical. It's long focus riding. And when the weather turns bad, it becomes about discipline, about keeping calm, it's about scanning constantly and making space for mistakes. Yours or in fact someone else's. So today reminded me that even routine rides can throw you curveballs. Although I must say, going from city to city isn't necessarily a routine ride for me. But you know what I mean if it's you on the actual commute. So I've done hundreds of motorway miles, but that truck, that moment, it reminded me why we always need to ride where we are visible, or not invisible to them, so to say. So, if you've had a close call or learned a tough motorway lesson, drop it in the comments for me. I read every single one of them and we can all learn together. Smash that like button if this has given you something to think about on your next ride. And if you're into real-world motorcycling tips and stories, hit the follow or subscribe. And remember, there are new clips all the time. Remember, it's not just about the destination, it's also about the journey. Ride smart, ride safe. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.